I always push the local guys. I love the small guys. I love the small mom and pop companies. If you call your local guy and he says, hey, that's really not for me, ask them for a recommendation. Ask them for somebody that they would trust to come out and do the job that's going to be fair. Try to stay away from the franchise companies. A lot of those companies are hit and run, or they're trying to jack up the price and get into a bigger project. All of a sudden, your tub drain block turns into a full bathroom remodel for what? You know what I mean?
Welcome to the Royal Flush Podcast. My name is John Overy, the VP of Sales here at Royal Flush. In this podcast, we're going to discuss the ever-growing ins and outs of our state-of-the-art pipelining company here at Royal Flush. In this episode, Marc and I sit down and talk about what we call the plumbing umbrella and the different trades and professions underneath what you might consider to be a plumber. There are pipe fitters, HVAC techs, and there's your everyday plumber. So I think it's a fascinating conversation. If you own a property, you probably want to have an idea of who to call when there's a problem that comes up. And this is the episode for you. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to the Royal Flush Podcast. I have my brother-in-law and one of my favorite people in my world, Marc Watson, here with us again. Marc, welcome back as always.
Thank you very much.
Today, I think we're going to cover the different maybe terms and titles for people in the plumbing world and industry. And there's actually a lot of trades and professions underneath the plumbing umbrella.
Right.
That people might have heard of in the past or really not know what that specific contractor does. And so I want to kind of dive in today on what the different terms and names of these actual individual trades are, but more importantly for a homeowner or somebody who owns a business or a property, who to call and when to call and how to know who to call when something breaks down. So let's start with the basis of this tree of contractors, and that is a plumber. Right? An everyday plumber. You used to be a plumber. You're not really a plumber anymore.
Right.
And so what does a plumber do, and how do you know when calling a plumber is the right person for the problem that you have?
Gotcha. All right. So plumbers will do anything. They have a very wide umbrella as far as what they do. For instance, a plumber would be the guy that might install your new faucet or potentially hook up your dishwasher or your water heater. They will also do everything in the new construction end. So you got a brand new house, they're repiping your entire, they're piping in that entire house. So plumbers wear a lot of hats. And I guess in the end of it, plumbing is, it's used in commercial, obviously, and residential and industrial and all that kind of stuff. But within plumbing, there's all these other like subdivisions, right? So you're plumbing inside of your house, you're going to have a plumber come in, they're going to repipe the whole stack, they're going to hook everything up to your sinks. They're going to install the faucets, the toilets, and all that kind of good stuff. Same thing in a commercial building. But then when you dive into it, then you have, outside work. So now when that pipe leaves your foundation, that could potentially, in our area, turn into a drain layer. So the first 10 feet is where the plumber's responsible, but then it trains over to a drain layer. Which is, again, another plumbing title, another sort of plumbing, category, I guess you would say.
Yeah, so if I try to simplify it, when I think of plumbing, I think of water.
Right.
Any pipe in the property that's going to touch water, a plumber usually has, say, the right of way. Right? The first right to do that. So again, that's certainly all the stuff coming out of your house, but the pipes coming into your house.
Right.
A plumber is going to potentially install that, going to fix it when we have a leak, right? So I think of leaks, right? So if you own a property and you've got a leak,
right,
that's usually associated with a plumber to come in and fix that leak.
Right. And there are some plumbers that do it all, right? But then there's also plumbers that I know personally that don't touch service. So when you're looking for somebody, if you're calling someone, you're like, hey, I got a leaky faucet or toilet. First thing to ask is, hey, do you do service plumbing? Or look it up, service plumbers in my area.
Yeah, well, so tell me what the definition of what is the definition of a service-based plumber?
So to me, a service-based plumber is anybody that's willing to go in and work on things that have already been pre-installed.
Fix a problem.
As well as install as new. A lot of guys that are in the new construction build-out, they're geared directly for that.
Yes.
And a lot of those guys are different. Right, they like working on their own. They don't mind working.
The walls are all open.
The walls are all open. Their job is easy. Right. A lot of guys don't like that. I gotta chase a PEX line through a ceiling or whatever. They don't want to get into that. They want to be like, hey, it's brand new. It's open. I could do what I gotta do.
Gotcha.
So that's generally like what your service plumber will do. It's basically, hey, I have a problem with this. Can I call you? Now within that aspect, we'll touch base on the drain cleaning side. So some plumbers will do drain cleaning.
Okay.
But other guys are just drain cleaners, as we know. We have good friends at Paul Anderson. That's all that they do is drain cleaning.
Yep.
So if you call and you say, hey, I have a blocked sink, a plumber may come out, they might have a little hand snake or whatever it may be, try to clear that line for you. But some of those plumbers almost draw the line at that. I know some plumbers that draw the line at that, and they're like, oh, that anything above that's beyond us. So now you got to call a drain cleaner to come out. So if you have a block main sewer line, anything like that nature, then they're like, you got to call somebody who's more geared towards that.
Yeah, so the plumber is going to deal with the water and fix any problems, usually inside the property. A drain cleaner is going to clean out the pipes.
Right.
I mean, they could be leaking, could not be leaking, but clean out the pipes and get it flowing. Usually that heads out of the building.
Exactly.
And that's fundamentally usually two separate trades. There are guys who are just drain cleaners.
Right.
And there are guys who are just plumbers. Like I said, they can kind of mesh, but usually they're going to individualize themselves and specialize in one or the other.
Exactly.
Okay. And then we talked about, tell me some of the materials. So what are materials are a plumber dealing with? They're usually dealing with PVC, copper.
PVC, copper, they're dealing with PEX. A lot of guys are using different forms of PEX. There's PEX that's got aluminum barrier walls in it. There's PEX that's, one color white. You might see it in your house, or every pipe in the house is the same color. Then you might see the blue and the red PEX.
I've seen the black and the clear PEX.
There's black and clear PEX.
Yep.
So, the plumbers are dealing with all that kind of stuff. They're also dealing with different forms of brass as well, whether it be mixing valves or, whatever like that.
And they're dealing with fixtures, right? So I think of house, we think of kind of like the main areas that we're getting water that the plumber's dealing with. You've got your kitchen and you've got your bathroom.
Right.
And within then is the components underneath, but also the fixtures, right? The leaky sink, the faucet needing to do shower head.
Right.
A lot of people don't know when you go in the shower and you turn the knob to hot and cold, that's called a mixing valve.
Right.
The plumber will take care of that for you.
Right, exactly. Yep. Yeah, you're not going to call a drain cleaner for a mixing valve issue that's not getting hot. Right.
Okay. All right. So I think that kind of broadly encompasses a plumber. So I think the next kind of service tech in the plumbing world is an HVAC guy.
Right. So HVAC is your heating and venting and cooling and stuff like that. Some HVAC companies only do forced hot air systems and mini splits. Other ones will actually encompass everything. They'll do your boilers and all this kind of stuff as well. These wall-hung boilers, these high-efficiency boilers, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Now, HVAC, that's when you call when you're like, hey, listen, I have, I lost AC. It's the middle of summer. It's scorching hot.
What does HVAC stand for? We hope you're enjoying this episode of the Royal Flush Podcast, but I wanted to take a minute just to tell you a little bit more about what we do at Royal Flush and how we can potentially help you solve big problems when it comes to your underground sewer lines. Simply put, here's the ask. If you have any issues when it comes to a backup, a slow drain, anything going on with your pipe underneath your building, your house, your apartment complex, your hospital, anything that has to do with an underground sewer line, give us a call at Royal Flush. We'd love the opportunity to come out there, inspect your line, and potentially offer you a permanent solution to solve your problems with our state-of-the-art epoxy pipelining technology. Now back to the episode. What does HVAC stand for?
Heating, ventilation, air conditioning.
And air conditioning. Gotcha.
Yes.
So if plumbing is water, HVAC is air.
Exactly. Yeah. So all they're doing is they're dealing with the components of, making sure your furnace, which is your hot air furnace, is delivering the heat through the ductwork appropriately. They test everything from flow rate to, making sure the filters are all set and all this kind of stuff. And then again on the cooling side of that, so now they're making sure your systems and your condensers you may see outside, that those are pumping through the right amount of freon to keep it all in check.
And actually, HVAC guys do a lot more electrical work.
Yeah, there's a lot of electrical work
any
involved
other plumber, right? So they're going in there. If you see an HVAC guy, the first thing they're going to do is usually take something off and take out a meter reading.
Yes.
And they're going to be checking to see if there's proper electrical flow.
Right.
To that. And so that's kind of the only plumbing trade that really deals with electrical. Those guys are usually fine-tuned on at least the low-scale electrical that goes into a component.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're
so
a lot of low-voltage stuff.
If I bought a house and I have no idea about anything and I go in my basement, how do I know if I have a boiler for hot water or I have a HVAC system for air? How the hell do I know by looking at them?
So there's there's a whole broad spectrum of units you'd have for those. So HVAC is more of like a standalone unit with big silver ductwork coming off.
Yes.
Okay. A boiler can be anything from one of your wall-hung Navians or drawing a blank.
The brand name?
Yeah.
Just start again. It can be like a wall hung. Just say like a wall hung Navien.
So a boiler will be anything from a Navian boiler that's just wall hung. You can also have standalone cast iron boilers. I'm a huge fan of the standalone cast iron boilers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of minimal parts in them that can really go wrong.
Yep.
Those ones there are going to have all sorts of pipe work coming off of it, whether it be copper, whether it be PEX, it could be black iron.
It'll look like a little spider web.
Exactly. Yep. And some of the fuel sources for those may include the oil, the propane, or the gas.
Yeah.
So that's the major difference is you're going to have pipe work coming off of a boiler and duct work coming off of a furnace.
Yes. So what I like to think, if somebody, again, just purchased a home and knows nothing about plumbing and they're in their basement, if your house has baseboards that run across the floor with the grates in it, or you have the big old-fashioned radiators, that is a plumber.
Yes.
That is water flowing through.
Right.
Creating air, mixing with the air, creating heat that is radiating off of there.
Right.
That's a plumber. If you have holes in the ceiling with grates or holes in the floor, that is an HVAC tech.
Exactly.
That is air using to heat your space.
Right. Now, a lot of heating companies that you will call, they will dabble in both because they know that not everybody knows the difference and they might as well just handle both of them. A lot of the contractors we work with do both sides of things. Now, going back to the boiler, not only are you having a plumber for those, but you're having a pipe fitter for those. And that's a whole other level.
Okay, so tell me, so we've got a plumbing contractor, we have an HVAC contractor. What the heck is a pipe fitter?
So a pipe fitter is somebody that does all of the, we'll say the mechanical joint fitting on a lot of these bigger boiler systems. A lot of the times you're not going to call a pipe fitter to work in your residential home. You're going to call a pipe fitter to do these big commercial boilers. Okay. So we're talking, big boy pipe, they thread together with nuts, they got what they call unions on them.
Yep.
A lot of pipe fitters actually do sprinkler fitting as well.
Okay.
So the fire suppression lines that run across your ceilings or in your commercial building, that's what a pipe fitter will do.
Gotcha.
Now those pipes are, a lot of those are engineered spec drawings and all this kind of stuff that they have to follow perfectly to get to it. But you certainly would not want to foot the bill for a pipe fitter coming in to change your faucet, because that is two separate ends. And it's almost like that tiered level with that. We have local pipe fitters unions where, hey, I'm a pipe fitter, I don't do anything else.
Yep. So these are usually like the black iron pipes.
Black iron pipes.
Usually, 1 inch, 2 inch and bigger.
Yep.
Now let me ask you this: what about who is going to install the gas line to the house?
So a pipe fitter would do that as well.
A pipe fitter would do that because again, that's that black.
Yep.
Usually, residential can be 3/4, but usually inch and a quarter maybe.
Usually, it depends. The standards have all changed.
Yep.
Anything typically coming in your house should be inch and a quarter coming in, and then it obviously reduces down from there.
Yep. Gotcha.
But yeah, definitely, a mechanical pipe fitter will handle your gas. Certain states actually require 2 different licenses.
Yes.
And other states, it's all encompassing. So just another one of those things. I believe Rhode Island, got rid of their pipe fitter's license under the plumbing. See, in Massachusetts, you can be a master plumber, and that encompasses the pipe fitter as well.
Gotcha.
So it's all, changed.
Okay. So a pipe fitter is very specialized.
Yep. So, and it's a much more difficult trade in the fact that it's not PEX that you can kind of loop in place. When you take your measurements, you got to, you got to be dead on, because then you're threading that pipe or you're using now MegaPress, which is making everyone's job a little bit easier. But still, it's more of a fixed and rigid system.
Yes. So I like to joke, a plumber is not a carpenter, okay?
No.
A plumber cannot get an exact measurement to save their lives. Right. And when you cut PVC, we're usually cutting it with a saw, right? It is not an exact measurement. When you take something, if it's 27.5, you can probably cut it at 27. You can probably cut it that half, you can go off on an angle.
Right.
No big deal, right? Again, plumbers are not finished carpenters. Very, very, very different.
Right.
But with this trade, you really, really need to be specific on what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is because of these engineered specs. You know what I mean? For these pipe fitters, they have to be bang on with what they're doing.
Yep.
You can't not thread in a fitting all the way, especially in gas and water.
Exactly. And I think certainly the leak that a plumber is going to address can be catastrophic, of course.
Right.
But a leak that a pipe fitter has is very, very different, because we're talking about fire suppression systems for commercial base or really large scale multifamily.
Right.
You got a leak in a sprinkler system, that can be a disaster.
Exactly.
More importantly, you've got natural gas coming into the property and you've got a leak there, people can die.
Right.
You're really not going to die from a plumbing leak.
Right.
So very, very different as far as also how they're tested and they're proved and that type of stuff too, right?
And the other thing is too going back to the plumber not having to be dead with their sizes, everything like that. Plumbing industry has been spoiled over the years. So we used to have to be that dead on when it was cast iron and copper.
Copper. Yep.
And in Massachusetts they're still installing copper for the commercial buildings. So like those guys still got to be dead on with their sizes. With this PEX and this PVC, you're allowed. I mean, there's so much room for like. I guess you would say cheating with PEX.
Yeah.
Like you can literally just just flex the pipe.
Oh yeah,
to the
because
side.
before you would have to go up and make a 90.
Right.
Right. Now you can just curve it.
Right.
And also the PEX, it's like using a kitchen knife. You just cut it.
Right.
Whereas before with the copper, you're measuring, you're marking, you're taking the old-fashioned cutter, going around 4 times, and you're cleaning the inside, you're cleaning the outside to make sure there's no right. So that 1.5 second process, even by a great plumber, maybe took a minute to get that pipe ready to go to be soldered.
Right.
So it's a very, very different process.
It is, and I think we've lost a little bit in it.
Yes.
We've definitely lost. And even as far as even if they do want copper installed, they're using this ProPress.
Yep.
I mean, obviously I'm a believer in it. I love this stuff. I think it works amazing, because everything's got a purpose. But at the same time, you're losing a little bit of that art. And a lot of these old school plumbers I know plumbers personally that were working in hospitals. One of the hospitals we serviced, and he was anti-ProPress, anti-PEX, anti-everything. He was lead and oakum and solder everything he could. But they've lost a little bit of that. I call it the art.
Yep.
So it's almost homeowner friendly now, but almost too homeowner friendly.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay,
so we've got the plumber, we've got the HVAC, we've got the drain cleaner, we've got what were we just talking about? The pipe fitter.
The pipe fitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next in line for one of these guys under this umbrella? What's the next type of trade?
I mean, I guess you could go to, the drain cleaner again real quick. You know what I mean? So that's the guy that's handling and maintaining your drains, making sure everything's running smoothly. And then next in line would be, I think the greatest guys of all time.
Certainly, I think the most smartest, the best looking, and the savviest people in the entire world, pipeliners.
Right, pipeliners. So these guys here are a different breed, right? So these guys they have to be able to think on their toes. They have to be able to work very well under pressure. And you really got to have a wealth of knowledge. It's not just a lot of people like, you just shoot a sleeve down a pipe and that's it. No, there's for some companies, there's chemical composition. There's knowing how much chemicals are going into things. You got to be able to do math, which is one of everyone's difficulties in any kind of trade industry. And you got to take your measurements appropriately. You got to mark out your reinstate. So pipeliners, they're the guys who are doing. Everyone's got their wealth of knowledge, but in my opinion, pipeliners are obviously the greatest.
Yeah, we're a little biased, but what makes us different is that. So again, a service plumber, if you've put in one sink, you've put in 1,000.
Right, and you're going to run into scenarios where they're a little different, they're a little bit more challenging.
But if you buy, say, you've got a high-end client and they really want this beautiful faucet from England.
Yeah.
Okay. That you open the box, it's going to come with instructions.
Right.
You might look at this and it might be like, wow, I've never seen a faucet like this in the world. But you can sit down and take your time and really get it installed.
Right.
There are no instructions with pipelining.
Right. I'll be honest with you. My instruction day, as we know, was a nightmare day one, because it's almost like with pipelining, you're never going to get the same scenario twice. Yeah. I could shoot a 10-foot shot at this shop and get different results every time, and everyone's going to go a little bit differently. And there's no instruction manual. There's no anything that's going to be like, if this happens, do this. So a lot of it, we're creating that in our own.
Yep.
In pipelining, you have to think on the spot. You have to be able to adjust and flex and change your path of movement really quickly. So it's very different than other trades. Other trades, there's a manual, there's a book, there's there's classes for it, there's everything like that. In pipelining, it's kind of like, hey, here's all the equipment.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of times for us, we bring guys in that are thinking about getting into it. They come out to us, they work with us for a little bit, and we kind of show them everything, And pipelining is definitely one of those. To me, it's a trickier industry because there's no book, there's no manual. It's, hey, here you go. I need you to get a liner from here to here. Figure it out.
Yeah. So let me throw some questions. So I own a property. Let me throw some questions, scenarios, and you tell me who should I call and who should I hire.
Gotcha.
Okay. My kitchen sink will not stop dripping. Who do I call?
So for that, you'd call a local plumber. Yeah.
Okay. It's October 25th and it's cold in the air and I got to turn my heat on for the first time. And I go to the thermostat and nothing's happening.
So for that, you'd call somebody that does heating and cooling.
Okay.
So that would, not necessarily a pipe fitter, but somebody that does heating and cooling. And then they're probably going to ask you what type of system you have.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have to do a good job at
Okay.
identifying
I have 5 daughters in my house who take 1-hour showers each, and I went to take a shower, and I have no hot water anyway, but the tub won't drain. Who do I call?
So for that, if it's just the tub drain, you can identify that it is just the tub drain, like you ran your bathroom sink, it's not backing up, anything like that. In my opinion, I think you should take a stab at it. I think you should grab a plunger and give it a good
Try it
whack.
yourself.
Try it
Okay.
yourself.
All right.
From there, you can call your plumber if you have a good relationship with a small plumber in town. If not, definitely call your local drain cleaner.
Should drain cleaner.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's July 10th and it's 97 degrees out, and I have air conditioning, and it's only 80 in the house, and it will not get colder, who do I call?
You definitely call your HVAC tech. Yeah.
Okay. If I woke up and it smells like gas, I'm like, wow, I don't know what's going on. It smells like gas. Who do I call?
Well, the first thing you do is you get out of the house.
Get out of the house.
Get out of the house, and then I would definitely call probably someone who's a pipe fitter to come in there and check that out.
Gotcha.
If not, you might want to call like National Grid and have them come out
Yep.
and sniff the line and see if they can find out where it's leaking.
Okay. If I have a leaky outside faucet,
That's definitely going to be your plumber.
that's a plumber. Okay. If I woke up and I've got a big stain on my roof, my ceiling, my second floor bedroom's got this big stain and there's a leak coming in, who do I call?
Huh? Do you have anything above that bedroom?
I don't think so.
So it's just the attic? I'd call a roofer. guy.
A roofer,
There
exactly.
you go. Yeah.
Let's see some other scenarios. I think these are just great things because there's a lot of people who don't know who to call when, right?
Right.
And this is, I think, the goal of what we're doing is for you to realize that there's so many different mechanical components in your house that unfortunately there is not one person that really encompasses everything.
Right. And, I found, and we try to be as honest and transparent with everybody, but I found that if you
Hey, is it worth? Can you come by for $100 and I can just, pick your brain for 20 minutes and you look at it and, maybe you as Uncle Bob know it's not something you're going to fix? That might be worth the time. As the home, offer that to the guy because he might be one like, you know what? Yeah, I'll come by. I'll take a look at it and say, you know what? I think you need to call this guy for this guy for this. Or when I get there, you know what? It's actually not what you thought because as the homeowner describing what you think the problem is, could actually, you've got a leak over here, but you know what? I really need to fix that, and that's going to solve the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of it is, if you're dealing with somebody local and you've got a good relationship with them, they should have no problem sending you over to somebody else that's more specialized in that
Yes.
trade. And I have no problem doing it. We send guys all the time over to different local plumbers that call us. We still had a call today looking for, toilet and a faucet installed. Hey, that's not what we do, but this is who we recommend.
Yep.
And generally, the way I always like to explain to people, it's somebody I have no problem sending to like my grandmother. Right? So that's how I always say to people,
Yeah.
hey, listen, this is my referral. It's somebody I know is not going to be out there to price gouge you. They're going to do great quality work, and they're going to be clean, and they're going to get it done for you. So, yeah, definitely build up a good relationship with your local plumber, and, this way here, from there, if it's not his avenue, he can feed you to somebody that can.
Yeah. So most of the time, you're going to call probably a local plumber first.
Right.
They're probably going to be able to take care of, certainly here in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New England, they're probably going to be able to take care of 75 to 80% of your problems.
Right.
But the goal is to educate you that there are these other specialized trades kind of underneath that plumbing umbrella. There's a lot of different mechanical aspects to a home or a property that have unique specialized fixes and technology to.
Right.
And that at the end of the day, learn more about your property, understand what you have, and who to call when it gets broken. And you really should probably start compiling these lists now. Like we always talk about reacting, right?
Right.
If you've got a property, you say, you know what, maybe I can get a list. Maybe I can call around. Hey, what do you specialize in? What do you do? What would you fix at my place? All right, you know what, I'm going to put your number on my sheet here. And so when I have a problem, I know who to call.
Right. And there are some companies out there that have a wide umbrella. Some of these plumbing companies, there's a couple actually, I think it's Traverse Plumbing out in like Middletown or Portsmouth. They kind of handle a lot. They like soup to nuts with everything. They're septic pumping, they're installing your boiler, they're repiping your house, they're doing it all.
Yep.
So maybe you want to find somebody like that can almost handle it all for you. But definitely, it's definitely a list you want to have. People always have on their fridge, like, the grandmother's number, my number, cell phone number, emergency, which, now it's cell phone, so nobody really has it. But you want to know who your guy's going to call.
Yep.
So this way here, hey, middle of the night, you're not scrambling through Google trying to find somebody,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope this episode was informational and helpful. If you own a property and you're wondering what the heck to do when there's a problem or who to call, hopefully we laid out for you the right person to call, the right service provider to call, and when, and not if, but when you've got a problem, these guys can take care of it for you. Thanks for your time today, Mark. Appreciate it as always.
Not a problem. Thank you.